I've never been officially elected to this position, by the way.
You still weren't officially.
You were. I think
Doesn't matter.
we did. We
Okay,
did.
we're live.
We were live.
We're live now?
We're live.
Okay. All right, let's bring this meeting to order. Do we have any public comment on items under the jurisdiction of the board and not on the agenda?
Good evening, board. My name's Kathy Brecky. I want to thank you guys for considering me for the board. I have to say I was a little bit disappointed. However, I think you made a good recommendation, and I know Lisa will be a really good addition. So congratulations. I do want to keep up to date with all this. I'm kind of getting up to speed, and I'm really interested in it all. And of course, I'm a taxpayer, so I have a vested interest in all this. And I really want to see this process succeed. I know that you're working really hard to get the revenue piece in place, and everybody's putting together, you know, the new tags and things like that that are going out this year. But I do have a suggestion or a request, because I know there's been a lot of changes. One of the new changes, and people have been asking me about this. October 1st, there was credit cards at the transfer station or up at the, and they're like, I got up there and they weren't going to bill me, and I didn't have my checkbook, and so I had to use my credit card, and I'm getting charged a 4% fee on the credit card. And is there any way to put signs somewhere that change was made? Just a suggestion or a thought, or anyway. So I know there's been lots of changes, that one being October 1st, I guess. And I know it takes like a good year or two to get everything in place, you know, as you start a new process. And I know a few things fell through the cracks this time. We got duplicate tags. And so, and not to say that that's, you know, I'm not putting interest in the who or why of that. I just think keep the process how it is for a year or so. I've heard maybe you're going to go to hang tags, and I just keep it this way you have it right now so that people get used to it. You know, the ripples in the pond kind of calm down. Everybody's been through a lot of change. So anyway, that's a suggestion or a request. So, and I also would like to say, I know you've got this assessment project going, how to assess all this stuff, and I would certainly volunteer to be on that committee or help with that project, or even if you have things in the office that I could volunteer to help you with. I would love to do that. I know you have an RFP coming up, and I do have a question on the RFP, page 9. I don't know if you guys have it with you. Under the contract provisions and terms, and it's 1.12.2, and it says that for a period of 3 years, beginning January 1, 2025, and ending June 30, 2028. I think that should say July 1, 2025 instead of January.
Starts January.
Well,
Our
then,
contract ends December 31st.
okay, so but then it ends June 30? That isn't 3 years, is it?
Yeah, I don't.
It's 3.5 years.
Yeah, so that's anyway, just picked that out as I was reading through it. So anyway, well, just again, if I can be of help with your board at all or committees, I would love to do that. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. All right, next item, fiscal year 2024, the great Bill Jarocki.
2025, sir.
Oh, well, it says 2024 here.
Oh. Well, you want to talk about last year?
Let's talk about this year.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Bill Jarocki. I am the County Administrative Officer and Budget Director. So today I want to share with you the first quarterly report on the fiscal year 25 budget. I have 2 sheets. I have enough for everybody, if you don't mind, to give them to the public and everybody else, if you don't mind.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let me hand these out. The first page I'm handing you is the revenue side of the budget.
Thank you.
And I apologize for the small print, but there's a lot of stuff on the page. Still trying to get it all on one page. Okay, enough for everybody. And I'm going to also hand out the expenditure page. And I'll explain what you're looking at, and
Thanks.
I'll give you the report and answer your questions. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Does everybody have a copy? Okay, let me give you the background on what you're looking at, okay? So the county, overall, for all departments, we instituted a whole new system of budgeting whereby departments get these worksheets, revenue and expenditure worksheets, and then we take the information from our accounting system and we update these budget worksheets, and we meet with the departments on a quarterly basis. So the quarter that ended on September 30th, all those meetings were had with the department. This is my first opportunity to share it with you as part of your regular meeting schedule. What we do with these quarterly budget reviews is we talk about how the revenues have come in, look at expenditure patterns, see if there's anything unusual in the expenditures, so that we can guess going forward whether we're still going to be in budget. This is also an opportunity when I meet with the departments to talk about any need for budget amendments. Those are publicly noticed through the Board of Commissioners if we have to make any budget amendments. There were no amendments necessary for the first quarter ending. There may be for the next quarter, but we meet with the department heads every quarter and we go over all of this information. So the revenue sheet is the horizontal page. And overall, if you go about the middle of the page, 3/4 of the way to the right, you'll see a number in red that says 11.69%. What that is showing you is that as of the first quarter, we have received 11.69% of the revenue budget. This is not an alarming number at all because the way our solid waste program is funded is with assessments. Those assessments have just been billed in November. We'll see those revenues coming in over the next couple months. That is not, the overall revenue picture is not anything to be alarmed about. What I would encourage you, show you that is encouraging is if you look to the left, about midway down the page, you'll see a number in green box that says 251, 230. That is the budgeted amount for the Equitable Assessment Recovery Program. Those are the assessments that had not been paid by customers over the last couple of years. The good news is at the end of the first quarter, we had received almost $110,000 of what we had budgeted. What this means is that people got their notices of their past due assessments, and they've been coming in and paying them. And at the end of the first quarter, which was September 30th, we had already received $110,000 of the $251 we budgeted. Now, only a crazy person like the budget director would ever think that we'd get 100%. But to be at that level in the first quarter is really good. And the good news is that I was told today that we're even ahead of that schedule.
I have that number.
As of today, I think you said 125,000 or
No,
something.
we have brought in $137,352. It's 54%.
Yes, so well over 50% of what we had budgeted has come in. over 50% of what we billed has come in that first quarter. So people are responding to the assessment notices. We'll see even more come in as people realize that they need to pay the assessment in order to use our facilities, and that's good news. And so the revenue side looks pretty good. And, you know, we realize that we're probably not going to get 100%, but we feel pretty good about the level of revenues that have come in. This year's maintenance assessment, which brings in that light blue box, 839, as I said, those have been billed in the November tax bills. We'll start to see those being paid as people pay their taxes.
Bill, no
Yes, sir.
question. Is that including this that we received, or?
I don't know, I'm not familiar with what that document is.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a different report, excuse me. Okay, so let's go to the long page, the long vertical page. This is your expenditure page. Right, at the very bottom right-hand corner of this spreadsheet is the bottom line number, which shows that the grand total of expenses for solid waste are at 19.79%. So if you were to expect that your expenses would come in at about 25%, we are under budget. What I can say, if you go to the top of the page, we have a division of cost between personnel and operation and maintenance. Personnel is always going to be right around the mark. We pay our people pretty steady expenditures. We're at 24.33% of the budget. That's exactly what you'd expect. 25% of our personnel budget has been expended. The good news is, in that next section, which is operations, you can see all of our expenses are laid out, and you have at the top section, the top third of the operations side, we've spent 23.47. Now, what this is the personnel that's related to, not to the office, but people that work in the field. So these are all the external of the courthouse staff for solid waste. That number has also come in, as you would expect, right around 25%, 23.47. Below that are all of the O&M costs, or operation and maintenance costs, expenses related to the solid waste external operations. So if you divide this sheet between the in-office, out-of-office, and then the O&M for the field staff, at the bottom of that section, which is about halfway down this page, our expenses have come in at 15.83 for O&M, or 20.33% for combined personnel and O&M charges. So they're under budget significantly for O&M and right on the mark for personnel in both the administration and field staff. But this 15.83% is a really good sign. The expenses are lower probably and you just kind of go walk through these expense items. Tipping fees are only 17.33%, which is a large expense item. It's the largest expense item in here. Tipping fees at $136,000 budget were only $23,572, so 17% of what we expected. That's good news. Anything we can save on tipping fees is going to really pay off at the end of the budget year. So you can spend more time on this at your leisure, but the bottom line is that we're at less than 20% expenses overall, when we should be, quarter of the way in the year should be 25%. So we're saving money. Any expenses that we save on means that we'll have more of a surplus. And we need that surplus because we may not get 100% of the clawback or the ERP monies. But I should say this as compliment to TJ and his staff. They have always done an excellent job keeping their expenses under control and actually coming under budget on expenses. Where we've had difficulty in the last couple of years is our revenues just weren't there. But they've always done a great job in expenses. What this first quarter report demonstrates to you is that pattern of management that the department has, that they're able to keep their costs down. So they're under budget on expenses, they're doing very well on revenues, and that bodes well for the department for in this operation for the year to come. Do you have any questions at all?
The hook truck, that'll be in Q2.
Yeah, so let me
That's not included
mention,
in all this.
we have a budget for capital replacement. The hook truck was the capital item we wanted to replace, and the price of the hook truck was less than we expected in the budget, so we'll save even more money there. So we will, if you look at the middle of the expense sheet, you'll see a title says 521-400 Capital Improvement Plan, Solid Waste. The expenditure, the budget item is $204,000. The hook truck, which is not shown as, is not expensed here yet, is well under our estimate for the budget. So we'll be, I think we're going to be well under the 204 depreciation expense for this year. And there are two ways you can handle that. One is you can still budget 204 and expend 204 and have that go into the capital reserve for all the equipment. Or in the end, we may end up being our expenses could be less in 204 if we're getting close to needing to balance the budget with it. So, but right now we're scheduled to spend out $204,000 in depreciation expense for everything. Just makes it easier down the road. You don't need to store up as much money. Does that make sense to you?
So what will happen with the old one? Will we keep that? Will we sell it? Use it as backup?
Currently, right now, the plan is the Sterling truck, which is our main truck, is we're going to keep that as a backup. And we have spent roughly $35,000 on that in the last year and a half. And we're going to continue to nickel and dime put it together to where it's in good use, because the 89 hook truck that we have is going to go to public surplus auction in the spring. And we actually have another truck down there that we're trying to decide what to do with that has a blown motor in it. Right now the price of trucks are coming down where we can actually buy another truck for $40,000. But that is not in the cards right now. What they're doing with the extra trailer that we have is they're using the road shop's tractor to pull it because it's set up with a wet kit on it. And right now the road shop does not need it. Come springtime, that would change, obviously. And so the old hook truck will go to surplus. The old service truck will go to surplus. And that money would come back in to our CIP, I guess. Not knowing what we're going to get for it, we have no idea.
Right.
The hook truck, I believe they've got, the old hook truck, they've got about $27,000 into it. And then they spent $15,000 to straighten the frame. So they've got a fair amount of money into this truck.
Straighten the frame.
This was a road shop truck that was tipped over. It was a dump truck.
You got any idea how much we'll get out of those things at the auction?
Best case scenario, we get 15,000 out of the hook truck. Anything above that's gravy. The service truck, I'm gonna say 3,500. Just, I would rather be lowballing it and be surprised than try to guess high and go, darn it.
So, Bill, would that go directly against the 204 then?
Yes, it would. The model that we built is capital replacement for all the items. Some of you have seen that in the past. We'll probably, maybe next meeting, I could update it and show it to you again, so you have an understanding of how that looks. Each one of the items, as it is replaced, has an estimate surplus value that we use to deduct against the cost of the new vehicle. So I'd need to update that Nessie curve. We call it Nessie curve. I need to update it for this new hook truck that we brought in. Also, there's a service truck that's been added to the fleet as a replacement. I need to put that into the model, along with the amortization cost. So it'd probably be a good idea next meeting to revisit it, and so you can see the Nessie curve, and then we can talk about strategy for vehicles going on forward. Sometimes I have a little difficulty keeping up with them because they want to buy and sell things all the time. They kind of build them back into the models, make sure we have the numbers right. But suffice it to say that the 204 that you budgeted, that's an accurate number. And in reality, we may end up having more money to go into reserve for other items than we expected because they're doing so well in what they're purchasing.
So I will tell you that the hook truck, a new hook truck is over $300,000. We bought a 2020 Peterbilt, and we paid a little over $170,000 for this truck, and it's got 56,000 miles on it. So this is going to last us a long time. I think Bill will probably take it out 15 years. I'm going to say that it's going to hopefully make it longer than that, with good maintenance and stuff. And the guys are doing a really good job about that right now, staying up on that stuff.
And of course, every one of those vehicles that we have in the inventory, the way that the model is designed is we evaluate the useful life every year. So if it looks like you're going to extend the useful life on the hook truck that we just bought, past 15 years, that just gives us 5 more years to save for the next one. And it pulls the curve down, and that's good for all the customers. It allows us to keep our user fees as low as we can possibly keep them. But it takes a discipline to load the information and to constantly review it.
Yeah.
Because some things may not last as long as we expect, others may last longer. But it's a discipline that we need to establish for all the fleets and all the departments in the county, and that's the direction I'm going in as budget director.
That's it? Cool. All right. Discussion.
Can I add to that?
Oh, sure. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to do some quick reports or updates. Bill already had me update on where we are on the ERP, so that is at 54%. But I wanted to let you guys know the decals, we're starting to bring in people that have not paid an assessment or they don't have an assessment on their property. New builds or just unassigned properties. I've gathered 42 of those for around $11,000.
42 that were never on a list.
They're either new builds or when they receive their property taxes, our assessment was not on there. So I suspect that we'll get more, but as of today's date, there's 42.
So, do you want to talk about this, or is that
Yep.
what TJ's going to do?
Nope, that was gonna be me too. So this spreadsheet that we printed out for you, it's basically Tri-County's list of their customers that they service in Broadwater County. On the first page and partial into the second, it shows their customers that are not They do not have a current paid assessment. Some are new builds, but some aren't. So we're still doing some more investigation on it, but that too, I think there's about 43 there. So again, we're looking at $11,000 that we have not brought in that we're technically paying out to Tri-County right now.
Now, is this list, they haven't paid in two, so we could theoretically go after the last 2 years, correct?
No. That's just,
Because some of them are new builds.
some of them are new builds, and this is just what his current list is, yeah. There are 4 on the bottom that do owe the IRP. And those are, I've marked those as well. But these are I just finished this this spreadsheet this afternoon, so
What's this O's ERP? What's
that's the IRP,
Okay.
yeah.
So like this first page, that's all new builds then? So it'd just be 1 year worth of assessments.
Yeah.
I don't think that we could ever go back more than 1 year not knowing the history behind this. I think we have to stay in the current state.
One that I do want to point out, it's the third from the bottom on the first page. That's Mountain View Mobile Home. So that's the mobile park that's out on Canton Lane. They currently have 7 or 8 cans out there from Tri-County, but the mobile home park itself does not pay an assessment for the simple fact that they aren't responsible for the habitable dwellings on their property. They just have the lots. So the mobile homes that are on that lot, on those lots, are responsible for the assessment. Many of those aren't paying, but there are some out there that have come in and got their decal and that they are paying. But that's something that we might need to look at in the future is our mobile home parks for that fact. A lot of the problem with a lot of the mobile homes is when people are buying used ones or older ones, they're not doing the proper channels and taking the title and doing it the correct way. So they're paying, cash for this mobile home, but then they're putting it on a lot. So we don't have a way to collect that fee because they're technically not getting a tax bill. And so they're sitting on these lots causing trash, and that's what we're looking at Canton Lane is a lot of these homes that we can't keep track of because they didn't do it the process properly.
I was up there at Cedar this past week or something like that. Somebody had come up from the mobile home park to try and dump trash, and that's what they were saying is they don't get a tax bill. So
So just the mobile home park out there is roughly $15,900. So now put that with the $11,000 that we're short over here.
That's on top of that, you say, or
Yeah.
included in that?
wow.
That's on top.
Just for that one or for all of them?
Between Tri-County's route and the mobile home park is about $25,000, $26,000.
We gotta find a better way to track
I'm
this.
surprised that Townsend Electric haven't been assessed.
I believe it was at one time
Really?
when, was it Doug Brecker owned it? I did see it's for sale again now.
Yeah.
So what about in town? How's that? Is the city assessing them in town, or how's that work?
As far as their city bill,
Well, garbage or anything, is there, just because they're in?
we don't see that. We don't have a way to see their city bill.
Okay.
So I would assume because they're in town that they would have the same bill as you and I that live in town,
Gotcha.
but that's an assumption.
Yeah, well,
This list is just out of the city limits.
Surrounding area, yeah. Well, that's a great start. Lots of good work, guys.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
I became aware of this issue this afternoon as well. And what I'm going to be doing is pulling together a meeting of the usual suspects that are involved in taxation and assessment and then, of course, our solid waste department. Talk about the workflow, talk about checks and balances again, talk about what worked this year, what didn't work, and what issues we have yet to fix. Some of these properties, if the assessment didn't show up on the tax bill, obviously it didn't show up on tax bill. We're gonna be looking at, do we send out a second tax notice for that, et cetera. So, we'll be looking at that workflow again, now that we know a little bit more about how things work. I can say that the mobile homes are kind of in the unique category. They're handled differently by both the Department of Revenue and the Treasurer's Office. So we want to talk about all these property types and how to tie this, make it a little tighter.
How are we doing on recovering the people that have not, didn't you have a whole list of people that didn't even get charged a tax bill, not the mobile home parks? I thought we had a whole list of folks that had not, were behind in taxes maybe?
Like the unpaid taxes?
Yeah. I thought you had a list for that. How are we doing on,
Well, I guess the unpaid taxes up in the treasurer's office?
no, I thought you had a list at one point where there were 50 or 60,000 behind on people that had not paid taxes, which means they hadn't paid their assessment.
Yeah, well, that was a number that was given to us. I don't know if I've had a,
I can't,
This was a couple of months ago.
yeah, so that number that came in, I want to say, don't quote me on this, I want to say that
50 or
number was like
60,000.
800,000, but out of that 800,000, we figured that there was about $54,000 that was owed in solid waste assessments.
Right. So are we tracking that or what's?
Not right now,
not
I'm
at
not.
this time.
I do know that that number is way down. It is greatly reduced, because that was tax time, you know, we're in it right now, so for people to use our facilities, as you guys well know, that decal was a huge benefit to us.
Yeah.
If you want to use our facilities, great. You either have a decal or you become a cash customer up at the transfer station. That is the only place you can take garbage if you don't have a decal. And there has been a few people that opted to do that. But it doesn't take very long to pay for that $265 every time you go up there at $10 a whack, because there's a minimum up there.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Eric, all these lists that we have, it probably could be tracked better, you know, in the future. But right now, we have so many lists of so many undone things that you kind of fall in this rabbit hole. Which one do we do first? And I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're, you know, doing the ERP or the clawback was one of our biggest projects to do. And I feel like with the decals going out and us we're, you know, collecting all the new builds, you know, that's the second thing that we're now working on. So I feel like as we move forward, it's probably something that it will become under our microscope, but until then, we just got to take one thing at a time.
So I did do some research on a tracking system that's called WasteWorks. Lewis and Clark County is using part of this system. For us, it would cost us about $10,350 to implement this system, which would make tracking a whole lot easier than having all of these little reports that we have right now. I think that moving forward, I can see us getting into this, but we're just trying to consolidate everything right now
Yeah.
before we make that step.
How hard would it be to get a master list, to put all these lists together, get a master list of everybody that we should be collecting from?
It's going to take some work, but it can be done.
Isn't that what this is?
That's the tri.
That's just
Tri-County.
Tri-County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With that WasteWorks program, we could put every single address into that and compare it to what is actually out there?
It's what Lewis and Clark's using to track their 3,000 pounds. Once you go over that, you become a cash customer through that program.
Maybe that's something we need to put on the agenda for the next time to approve
Let us
under the budget.
let us get through this one first, right?
Yeah, I think
I just like to see you squirm.
Well, you certainly did that, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, alls I did, Bill, was do the research to see what it was gonna cost us.
Yeah, you know, but
Hey, we're saving money on the hook truck.
Yeah,
Let's not spend it all.
That's not how it works. Seriously, though, it's never too soon to start thinking about your budget for next time.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the administrative load that you have now and how you get that done. It's never too soon.
It would be nice when we get time, and settle down a little bit, to get a master list of all the addresses that we have.
So there's the download that goes from DOR to the treasurer, and that we kind of have like this triangle that we're working. It is a big list and shows everybody's assessment. The new builds are getting, as we get them, I'm adding them to that list for the next download. So there is a master list.
Okay.
It's just, we're still trying to catch the smaller parts still.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Ms. Masolo?
No. Okay. Thank
All right, next item up for bid on The Price is Right is discussion and decision / decision on classifications of assessments, and that would be Mr. T.J. Gravely.
Mr. Acting Chair.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
So we actually had a working meeting that part of the board was here, you were not, but that's beside the point. And part of the discussion that we had was the apartment buildings, the businesses actually in Townsend, what are they being assessed at? Most of these buildings here are being assessed 1. Your bars and restaurants are being assessed at 5, a couple of them. But the thing that I got from the city was I wanted to know how many apartment buildings or apartment complexes were in the city that we are currently charging at 1 assessment. So the list that I presented to you guys earlier was a total of 9 assessments on 6 properties or 6 addresses. If you go down through there and look at it, as far as how many apartment buildings or apartments are in these buildings, there's actually 25 that we should be collecting on it, not 9. So that's another $3,710. I mean, doing it the way we were doing it, you got 11,000 here, you got 25,000 here, you got 3,000 here. This money's going to add up, and we will be able to reduce possibly our assessment that we raised. Moving forward, I cannot say that that will happen in the near future, but it will be happening, I'm sure of it. When we talked about this, I gave you guys a list at the working meeting, and I kind of told you that I was kind of basing my model off of Park County, is how they are assessing things. And I do feel that we need to be charging very comparative to those people. Like, so take the Mint Bar and Grill. So you've got 6 apartments upstairs. You've got a restaurant on one side. You've got a cafe on the other, or a bar on the other side. So right there is a minimum of 8, right? We need to sit down. We need to have all this data in front of us that I've got here, and we need to make these changes. These changes, I believe, have to be done by the 1st of January, I believe. It might be as such that, like Acting Chair Stahl said, it's a drive around. We go around, we look at them. We can do it several different ways. We can look at the occupancy, or we can look at how much trash is actually being produced. The city is being tracked of how much garbage is coming up. We don't have it as the business side of it. That is one thing that I'm going to ask Eric, can you just run a route for businesses so we can see the tonnage that is actually coming into the transfer station? It would give us a whole lot better number to be basing this stuff off of. You know, one other thing that we talked about was businesses that are in homes. A lot of it, you're going to have to base it off of what kind of business it is, how much garbage they produce. You know, with Kif not being here tonight, he is a business owner that runs a business out of his home. How much garbage does he produce? I mean, when we do it for one, we do it for everybody, and we have to make it fair to everybody. With this program that we've implemented, I do believe that we've drawn people out, people are paying, and it is fair for everybody. It's the same for my dad as it is for Eric. And that's the main thing that people can't question us on if we're doing it the same to everybody.
Right.
Moving forward, I think we've got a great program in the works right now.
Well, you can support it with saying, you know, our neighboring county is doing it that way, that's their system, so we're not like sticking our neck out.
So the reason I used Park County is because they're in the same situation we are. They have to truck their garbage too. At one point, they were putting it on a train and taking it to Missoula. Now I believe they're going to Tri-County and Helena. They're trucking it that far. Ideally, I would love to have a landfill, but we will never get it through DEQ. It's just a permitting nightmare. Upfront cost is in the millions just for one cell. I believe that new cell in Helena was just over $1 million. And I believe that that's a 10-year cell. I might be wrong on that. Tri-County just built a new cell as well here not very long ago.
When you say cell, how many acres is that?
I'm not positive what the cell size is. I wanted to put one up at the transfer station. Bill and I had looked at the possibility of doing solar up there. We were looking for a way to generate money. So the county actually has 480 acres up there. That was given to them by the BLM. The problem with that is the gun range sits right there, and where our landfill would have had to have gone, or our solar farm would have had to have gone, the shooting lanes went right through the center of it, so that was a definite no-go. Doing what we're doing now, I think that we're just on the right track. We need to stick with it for right now.
Sounds reasonable to me.
We have made a lot of changes, but every change we made, I darn sure think it was for the better.
So do we need to make a motion on that, or what?
On this, no. Not until you have all of the data in front of you. You will have all the data by December, your December meeting.
Okay.
I will try to have it in the next 2 weeks done. I hope.
TJ, we don't have a January 1st deadline on that. We need to do it as quickly as we can in the spring, but we don't have a January 1st deadline.
I thought Commissioner Folkford said we had to have it done by January 1st.
He just wants us to get it done in the first part of the year rather than wait till it's close to the assessment time, but
I would like to have it done as soon as I can. I mean, ideally.
We should compare our schedules, do a couple drive arounds.
I'm good in the mornings
Okay.
after 9.
After 9?
After 9.
Sweet.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
members of the board, I'm going to poke TJ back. But, you know, when it comes to citing landfill and operating on landfill and amortizing the cost, you know, it may be worth it to do the analysis to find out if never is true or if it is a viable alternative in the future.
And how do you go about doing that?
I called DEQ.
We just, pardon me?
I called DEQ and talked to Fred Collins.
Start getting some plan action or what we really have to do.
They used to have one up Indian Creek. It was on the south side of the road, basically across from the transfer station. That went away in '93. And what I was told is once it's gone, you won't get it back. I'm not saying never, I'm saying it's very unlikely.
So do they excavate the land and dig a hole and then you fill it? And
You
then
line it, fill
put your
it,
dirt on top of
you
it?
gotta cover it every night. You gotta layer it in there, I guess, with your garbage, your dirt, moving forward. It's the money you would save off the top. You would have to look at it. Say we spent $120,000 or $130,000. There's 10 years for one cell. That might be worth looking at.
And I would also say that that's under current regulations, and if
Correct.
the Trump administration is serious about an EPA that's modifying its regulatory standards, whether the county would do it or whether we would contract with the private sector to do it could be entirely different. So I think you keep the antenna up
Yeah.
and watch what happens and see if there's an opportunity to reduce costs to taxpayers.
We could make that on like a 5-year plan to do something like that.
Yeah, 5 years or less.
I like that idea.
So you want to look into it with the DEQ?
Yeah.
Yeah. mean,
I have called Fred twice and got no response, so I will tell you that.
Yeah, well, whatever it takes.
Yeah. It might just be as such that I just need to schedule a meeting with him.
Or just show up with a case of beer and have a little conversation.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work.
Shucks.
I'm not currently gonna do that.
You never know.
Might be frowned upon.
Yeah.
You know, with this new RFP going out, we're hoping we come in with a cost savings. I guess we'll find out come December.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other questions?
No, sir. All right, next on the agenda, next meeting will be December 10th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Anybody got anything else?
Did you want to talk about that other issue from this afternoon, Mr. Chairman?
The pay-as-you-throw thing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we need to sit down and come up with a plan. I think that would be a good idea. You weren't around for that discussion.
I have prior commitments in the afternoons.
You want to elaborate on it?
Just Bill and I talked about sitting down and actually come up with a plan for pay-as-you-throw, see how economical it's going to be. Come up with a solid plan and get everything all worked out, numbers and all that kind of stuff, and then talk about whether or not to, go full on or partial with, reducing assessments and do pay-as-you-throw. But I think we just need to come up with the whole thing rather than just piecemeal and.
Yeah.
I think a modified version would be a good version. That's my
That's
own
kind of
2
what I'm
cents.
thinking too.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the 2 goals that we had with solid waste, the first one is to sustainably finance the system. And we're on our way toward that, and we're watching those costs very closely. The second part, or second goal that we haven't quite fulfilled is creating equity, a more equitable system so that people pay a more fair share, I guess, how you express it, for their solid waste disposal. And so I would urge the committee to continue to look at ways to build equity in the user fee system. Pay-as-you-throw is one approach. A modification of what you've looked at before is certainly an option. From a budgeting standpoint, I'll be starting the budget for the solid waste department in April. which means that it's November now, December's next time you meet. If you're gonna start looking at pay-as-you-throw and the implementation issues that are tied to that, it's never too soon to start, if that's an option you wanna keep on alive. It's kind of like the analysis you would do in building your own landfill, is you never know when you're gonna want to move in that direction, but you should be ready. It's not too soon to start.
By the way, did we ever get anything from Tri-County as far as taking over the whole project? So it's all talk.
I did meet with Chance and talk to him, and it sounded to me like he's really not interested. He says he can't service the whole county.
Okay. Okay then.
There is a dead zone in the county on the south end. Basically, they've got a 35-mile radius that they can use
From Helena.
from Helena. That puts a lot of the Crow Creek, Toston area
Oh, yeah.
to, I think it's called Park Trail Ranch, possibly, I believe. Because Republic can only come up 7 miles through Public Service Commission stuff.
Because it's set by the state, they're Class D, so they can only go 35 miles from Helena.
I believe they can petition to get more. But as of right now, they are set at 35 miles.
And that would be just for picking up. That doesn't even include, we'd still have to fund them manning all the sites on top of that.
Yeah.
And
So
that would
that-
just be household garbage.
When they started talking about the $20 a month, whatever, that was just for pickup. That's not for manning the
That's not for
sites or
tipping.
anything
No,
like that.
that's
so,
not tipping fees.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like that's not gonna fly.
That bird don't hunt, or dog don't
No,
hunt.
that bird don't. hunt.
Dog don't hunt.
Yeah.
So we'll get together and start working on it. That sound good?
You know me, I love this stuff.
All right.
We love that you love it.
Yeah.
Good analysis there, by the way, on all this. It really shows a good picture of what we got going on.
Think
Well,
so?
good job on staying under budget. I mean, really.
I'm a farm and ranch kid.
Yeah, true.
You notice the one
Golf
one
clap.
expense we were way over was postage. A lot of mail went out related
Yeah.
to non-payments, so
Yeah.
so that was worth it.
I think we definitely, on the agenda for next month, we need the $10,000 for the program.
I didn't
I
hear,
heard you got,
I didn't hear a second, Mr. Chairman. We'll see if the commission's.
it wasn't on your agenda. You can't take any action on that.
Oh, no, we can't take any action tonight, but I think we need to remember that for the agenda next week. I just love the shades of red he turns. All right, if that's all, we're gonna adjourn. Going, gone.
I second.
Oh, do we need to, we don't need to do that to adjourn.